This year, Marvel Comics begins its line-wide crossover event, One World Under Doom, where Doctor Doom will become supreme ruler of Earth in a story that will take the course of 6 months' worth of miniseries and tie-ins to fully explain. But this isn't the first time he's conquered the world. In Marvel graphic novel 27, Emperor Doom, he manages to conquer humanity and place himself at the head of the table. He is naturally defeated, but what makes this story interesting is how it fits into Doom's character as presented up to that point in the 1980s. We're going to see how the history of Doom led to this story, and examine why comic creators are so keen to be dominated by our steel-plated Doctor. Introduced by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee in Fantastic Four issue 5, Doctor Doom is presented as a madman driven by his desire for power. His incredible genius puts him at a par with Mr. Fantastic, but his ego refuses to accept anybody as an equal, let alone a superior. Rather than admit he should have double-checked his equations, his mind twists the cause of his terrible accident to sabotage, blaming Reed Richards and starting decades of shouting his name at every misfortune. He is swiftly developed into the ruler of a small Eastern European country, his native Latveria, and his villainous plots go beyond merely firing the Fantastic Four's home into space, into ploys for world domination. Doom has been portrayed as more than a simple scheming villain though. Later writers have played up his sense of honour and regal posturing, making him almost heroic if it wasn't for his insistence that the world would be better off if he was running the show. Emperor Doom is based around two aspects of Doom's history: Doom as ruler, and Doom with absolute power. So let's have a look at how these two aspects were built up in the years leading to Emperor Doom. Doctor Doom was first established as the sovereign ruler of Latveria in Fantastic Four Annual 2. When it first appeared, Latveria was a curious mix of prosperity and despotism. Doom's subjects bowed and greeted him when he walked the streets, and yet also feared his wrath. A favourite moment of mine comes from Fantastic Four 57, where a stumbling serf trembles in fear of an unspecified ultimate punishment. While it generally appeared as quite a safe country to live in, the tyranny of Doom's rule became increasingly evident as time went on. In Doom's final appearance in the Kirby-Lee Fantastic Four run, he rules his citizenry in a I know what's best for you way, their happiness mandated by law. The Fantastic Four constantly remark on how the Latverians are happy on the outside, but living in fear. His feature in the Astonishing Tales magazine introduced a Latverian resistance movement, led by the deposed Prince Rodolfo. Doom is increasingly depicted with the pettiness of a tyrant, abusing his populace and anyone he considers beneath him. This lesson is one the Submariner never quite learns, betrayed by Doom in almost every collaboration. Some examples include Supervillain Team Up issue 7, where Doom is shown exercising his right to the medieval custom of the droit de seigneur, the right of the lord to the company of any of his subjects. If we need any further evidence that he's evil, apparently he just strolls into people's homes and takes their daughters for his pleasure. In Supervillain Team Up 14, Magneto enters Latveria and sees people dancing in a frenzy, forced to celebrate Doom's recent victory over the Red Skull or face punishment. This is definitely reminiscent of stories told about Soviet Russia, where Stalin would be applauded for over 10 minutes, with the first to stop being swiftly arrested and thrown into the Gulag. And, most shameful of all, he stiffed Luke Cage out of $200. This culminated in Fantastic Four issue 200, where Doom's tyrannical rule is overthrown by Latverian freedom fighters. Doom's rule has created a populace living in fear of immediate and fatal punishment, and with his defeat, Latveria is on track to become a free and fair democracy. The next time we see Latveria, the complete opposite has occurred. The resistance leader Prince Zorba has assumed rule of Latveria, promising freedom to his subjects, and is not doing a good job of it. He's raising taxes to ensure the country is run fairly, and angered the populace in the process. Without Doom's iron fist hovering over their heads like a malign sword of Damocles, Latveria's criminal elements were free to act once more. John Byrne, in his legendary run on the Fantastic Four, suggests that Doom's autocratic rule was actually a good thing for Latveria, seemingly saying that his brutal methods of keeping the people in check can be forgiven because the economy was good and quality of life was high. With the help of the Fantastic Four, he regains the throne in issue 247 and sets about restoring Latveria to its previous prosperity. In issue 258, Byrne shows us a day in the life of Doctor Doom. It is surprisingly pedestrian, with Doom taking breakfast, resolving his subjects' quarrels, and advancing his many plots to eradicate the Fantastic Four. He is described as a modern-day Solomon, making firm and swift judgment on matters brought before him. He offers this as a lesson to his ward, Kristoff, that a nation is best served by its ruler's singular command. Another fun moment from this issue is the scene where he loses his temper and pitches a fit at Kristoff for the incredible crime of suggesting that Magneto might have power rivaling Doom. The good Doctor screams and raves, "Doom is supreme. There is no power on Earth, no intellect in all creation to equal mine." Byrne also uses this issue to expand on Doom's robotic duplicates. He was affronted by his former partner Chris Claremont's use of Doom in an Uncanny X-Men storyline, where the villain Arcade used his armour to light a match. Byrne believed that Doom would have incinerated the cretin on the spot for such disrespect, and chose to explain away this out-of-character moment as the appearance of a robot, rather than the real Doctor Doom. Thus the phrase, "actually a Doombot," entered the fan lexicon, and so anyone who felt they didn't like what Doom did in a previous issue could just explain it away as a robot. The real Doom would never sully himself in such a fashion, they claim. Except when he fought Squirrel Girl. I believe that has been definitely confirmed as not a Doombot. What all this presents is how Doom desires to manipulate, not to dirty his own hands. Other people are his inferiors, to be used as means to his ends rather than direct entities in themselves, and this is what makes Doom's rule untenable. So, we see what Doom is like as a ruler of people. However, political power is a soft power, especially in the Marvel Universe, where the laws of physics are playthings to the average superhero. And Doom is just a man, an intelligent man, but still a mortal man nonetheless. And he has sought greater strength on many occasions. What has that been like? From the very beginning, Doom has tried to better himself. In his first appearance, he forces the Fantastic Four into searching for Blackbeard's treasure, rumoured to provide its owner invincibility. His most famous moment in this respect would be Fantastic Four 58, where he usurps the power cosmic from the Silver Surfer. While in theory this should make him unbeatable to the Fantastic Four, he constantly passes over the chance to destroy his hated foes in favour of toying with them, wanting to see them in the throes of despair. This leads to his eventual defeat, opting to destroy Richard's invention as a final middle finger to prove his superiority. It's not enough for him to simply rule or to be supreme. He needs the challenge or even the knowledge that he has truly bested another. In Supervillain Team Up 14, his mind control gas has the entire world under his thumb, but he frees Magneto, claiming that "my triumph came too easily, and I crave a challenge." It's not enough that he has dominated the wills of everyone, but he needs them to acknowledge it. It's all very well being people's superior, but they need to know it, and mind control tends to defeat that purpose. He should have remembered this instant, given what will come in the future. Doom's seeking of power reaches its apex in the 1984 Secret Wars crossover. As one of the collected heroes and villains plucked by the all-powerful Beyonder to fight for his amusement, Doom plots instead to confront the Beyonder himself. He succeeds in stealing the Beyonder's power, achieving omnipotence. While he is seemingly benign to his former foes, he is still driven by very human vanities and desires. He restores his damaged face immediately, and plots to retrieve his mother from the clutches of Mephisto, despite his omnipotence placing him above more mortal concerns. His defeat is brought about by his subconscious, repeatedly reviving his foes after he destroys them, so there's a pattern of Doom seeking and achieving greater power, and losing it almost as quickly. This brings us to where Doom was at the time of Marvel Graphic Novel 27, Emperor Doom. Written by David Michelinie and drawn by Bob Hall, Emperor Doom gives us an insight into what it would be like to be ruled by Doctor Doom. The plot can be described simply. Doom uses the suggestive power of supervillain Zebediah Killgrave, the Purple Man, to coerce the world into his servitude. Wonder Man, who was in a state of stasis when Doom's mind control broadcast occurred, wakes up and convinces the Avengers to take down Doom. They succeed, and the world is returned to normal. One of the major things that people take away from this story is that the world is doing much better under Doom's thumb. War is a distant memory, crime is down, and the trains are even running on time. Not at all a suggestion of the kind of leaders we should be comparing Doom with, of course. And yet, Wonder Man struggles with the idea that he should stop Doom at all. Indeed, once Doom has been deposed, within hours the peoples of the world are at each other's throats again. Warfare resumes and we're back to the status quo. The Avengers question if they've done the right thing, even if they have returned free will to the masses. Doom would probably disagree, as he defends his authoritarian government in Fantastic Four 247. "I brought modern technology to Latveria, and forged in the white-hot furnace of science a new nation that might one day have ruled the world. And all I took from the people was a single freedom. the freedom to commit evil. Doom is the Leviathan of which philosopher Thomas Hobbes wrote, the singular representation of his people who exists to enforce the social contract that binds a society and stops people from killing each other in the savage state of all against all. By restricting some freedoms, he claims to give greater freedom to his people, by ensuring a longer, happier life free from crime and murder. And Doom is presented as uniquely suited to rule. In what is possibly the comic's most famous scene, the Purple Man mocks Doom, saying he doesn't deserve to rule, that Doom is just a manipulator without any real merit of his own. Doom responds by removing his faceplate, his shield from the Purple Man's power, and stares him in the face, without succumbing to any of Kilgrave's commands. That Doom has a supreme will, that Doom is able to resist the command of another without anything other than his own determination, puts him at a better position to rule than the sprawling masses who so easily give in to the voice telling them what to do. But Doom is bored. His days are spent running the endless bureaucracy that comes with global government. While he is clearly capable of running such things, as his time with Latveria has proven, there's a stark difference between handling a small country and the entire planet. It is in this light we have to question how benevolent his rule actually is, given that he almost willingly gives it up at the first sign of opposition. If he really cared about how happy the people were, he would surely set loose that nerve gas on Namor to keep his rule intact. This feels like the key point over whether or not we should allow Doom to rule. It's entirely at his whims. If he feels like a challenge, and previous stories suggest that he will, then he will tear down everything he's created just to amuse himself. It does feel a bit of a cop-out that Doom is simply bored by the administration of running the planet and so gives up the utopia he's created, but it tracks with everything we've seen of the character up to this point in history. He exists in a constant state of yearning, of reaching for some kind of challenge, and never takes well to ultimate power. I'm reminded of the confrontation between Thanos and Adam Warlock in Infinity Gauntlet 5, where Adam points out that Thanos has always lost his ultimate power as soon as he receives it. While Thanos loses his power because he knows deep inside him he's not worthy of it, Doom always defeats himself by letting some form of opposition appear, a challenge for himself. Despite his claims to being beyond lesser human emotions like fear, pettiness or ego, he is still driven by them. When he first gained the power of the Beyonder, he immediately fixed his face, his vanity his first priority. He aimed to rescue his mother from hell, his long-hidden compassion coming to the fore. Ultimately, Doom is a man driven by his need for opposition, for something to overcome. His history is one where the world has fought against him. His Romani heritage made him an outcast in his own home. His disfigured appearance separates him from other people, forcing him into his armoured shell, another level of distance. This backstory of constant turbulence, of constant fighting, means he can only find satisfaction in overcoming those difficulties, of proving that he is worth his existence, and that the others who dare bring him down are in fact the lesser beings. Despite achieving his goal of power over people, he is unhappy. Slovenian philosopher Slavoj Žižek has this to say about happiness. What makes us happy is not to get what we want, but to dream about it. Happiness is for opportunists. So I think that the only life of deep satisfaction is a life of eternal struggle, especially struggle with oneself. Authentic masters are never happy. Happiness is a category of slaves. I'm sure Doom would agree. Whenever he rules, he makes his subjects happy. He even enforces it at gunpoint, as though he is reminding them who is truly the master. But he's never happy to just rule his homeland. He needs to conquer, to face challenges. In the times Doom has conquered the globe, the story's focus has never been on the mechanics of how he did it, which has the awkward side effect of making it look very easy. Doom just sets up a global mind control device and it works, no opposition required. But the point of these stories has not been to show him overcoming this difficulty, but in how he handles winning, and he never does it particularly well. What makes Emperor Doom so memorable is not in the specifics of its plot. As we've seen, everything here has been done several times over. Things like Doom's betrayal of the Submariner, or the rule of Doom as a benevolent dictatorship. What it does is present the archetypal Doctor Doom story. We get a concise depiction of Doom using his intellect to plan out a victory, how he manipulates and uses others to serve his own ends, and ultimately how he can never be satisfied with his success. This is why this story is returned to so often, because it shows us Doom, warts and all. So let's hope when we begin One World Under Doom this year, we get to see something interesting along these lines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.